get some stamps.
Presentation.
Okay, gotcha.
So, Marx, on or off? Your preference.
Your choice. You can see but not hear us.
That's fine. Yeah, no. That's all. For sure. Yeah, we're doing our research.
Charles, there's a line out there.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, why are they
Okay. We're moving down.
Nobody told them they could.
Well, that's not how our room works.
That's how they're working. They're used to other rooms.
You everybody walked in. Barely about 15. Come on in.
Yeah, I can leave in the middle and assume if you want to be in the middle.
There's less flat.
Thank you.
My favor is supposed to be on this panel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't see him yet.
It's on a virtual now, but not a live.
Yeah, literally, I've been trying to get lines today. Everybody just walks in and goes in. Nobody's out there. Everybody here's behaving today. I don't like it.
That chaos.
Oh,
Charles is chaos.
Did you mention this?
yeah. These things, the texting on the front. And you don't have to read this. It just gives you some bullet points. Do it at the beginning and the end, whatever you want to do. And then I wrote the where we're streaming and the hashtags.
Oh, yeah, we got it. Yeah.
That's my just riding my fingers through this whole panel. And now suddenly, am I representing ESO Network?
Not all.
Network representative.
I can do that. I'm on the board of directors. Not to brag. Are you super impressed?
I know we're a minute early, but I'm pretty right. I didn't think you're pretty not heck. You said pretty right.
Microphone working?
You get it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
He's talking.
Yeah, real close.
I'm saying stuff, words
There
are
you
coming
go.
down my mouth. Yeah. So start anytime?
Yeah.
We good? Okay. Well, hey everybody. Thanks for being here. I hope you're having a great Dragon Con. You're going to have a great Genretainment, a great Dragon Con. So this is the Genretainment Panel. Genretainment is a podcast. You can find it at all your favorite podcasting locations. We usually interview people, but we also do roundtables, kind of like what we're doing today, except we're doing it live today. And so you guys can get input and all that good stuff, interact with us. My co-host Julie can't make it to Dragon Con this year, but I do want to go ahead and get some stuff out of the way real quick here, that the official charity this year for Dragon Con is Big Brothers Big Sisters in Metro Atlanta. Dragon Con is going to match dollar for dollar up to $100,000 raised. So please consider donating to that. You can text Mentor to 243-725.
Or put it in the little bins right over there by the door.
Or that too. And remember, if you happen to talk about this panel or want to take some pictures or whatever, you can use the hashtag DragonConDMT 2021. All right. So today we're going to talk about superhero genre. So, we got a lot of superhero shows right now, right? Superman, Lois, Boys, WandaVision, CW is like half superheroes pretty much. The list continues to grow. And, the question is superhero bubble about to burst, or is it evolving in a new direction? So I'm joined with a bunch of excellent panelists to talk about that. A little more about me real quick. I'm co-host of Genretainment. I'm a fantasy sci-fi author. You can find my newest series over on Kindle Vella called Obsidian Monsters. Also filmmaker, adjunct professor, and I'm still waiting for my mutant powers to kick in. I think any day now. Any day. So right next to me is Jeff. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks. I'm Jeff Burns. I am the host of improv comedy show Super Geeked Up, which we're doing upstairs at 8:30 p.m. tonight as part of this track. And I'm also the author, writer of the web and Kindle Vella series Super Knocked Up, which is a superhero comedy series.
Hey, I'm Jenna. Oh, that's hot. Hey.
Yeah.
Right.
I created such shows as Panelology, Minds at York, new show Horse Girls, and I'm the newest baby member of Botched, a D&D podcast, which is on Sunday, I think.
Yes.
All right. I'm John Paul Estes. My only podcast is Many Years Defunct, so I'm just a regular guy who loves to talk about superheroes. So
It's a good name for a podcast. Many Years Defunct.
Many Years Defunct. That would be a good name. I like that. Yeah. Can I use that if I decide?
If you have me as a guest.
Okay. Done. All right.
And I'm Kevin. I do a podcast called the Flopcast. It's sort of a comedy pop culture show in which we tend to obsess over stuff from the 70s and 80s and beyond, as well as old school comic book fans. So we do a lot of comic superhero talk on that show as well. And we are part of the ESO network.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to throw a softball question at you right off the bat, and then we'll get really deep into it. So just basically, what's your favorite superhero TV show or movie, and why is it your favorite? Let's just start this way and work our way down. I know it's hard to pick one, but just try to pick one example.
All right. First off, top of my head, movie X-Men, Days of Future Past. Big fan of the X-Men movies, and I thought that was the best one they did. Love the time travel, blending both cast, the original and the new cast together. It was awesome.
Oh, man. Oh, God. There's so many.
I know, it's tough.
I'm going to start a fight real early. I love the director's cut of BVS.
Batman v Superman?
Oh, okay.
All right, I'm okay
You
with
got some
that.
Batman. Yeah, there you go. You're not alone.
You got a couple claps.
Good. Yeah, my people.
Movie or TV?
Either one.
Either one. Okay. TV, Superman and Lois. That they've best Superman show that I never thought would ever exist. And the whole family thing just gets me every week.
Yeah. And Tyler, the star of that, was at DragonCon. He just had a panel, so I don't know if he has any more. But
Yeah, I guess I'm also going to go current for TV because the first thing that came to mind was Stargirl.
Stargirl, yeah.
I've just been so impressed by how much like DC history with Justice Society, Seven Soldiers of Victory, all that stuff and all the Starman kind of legacy stuff. I can't believe how they're weaving that in and also doing it very naturally and with a very appealing cast. I think it's really been a standout among so many. I think of the CW DC shows. A lot of them they really kind of fall into a formula, and it feels like a chore to keep watching them at times. But Stargirl, I mean, they're still only in the early season 2, but I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Can we get a few choices from the audience?
Yeah, I want to hear some of your guys's.
What's your favorite superhero movie or show?
Just shout it out.
What was it? Deadshot?
Static Shock.
Static Shock.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
great
yes.
cartoon, yeah.
Static Shock.
I want live action Static Shock.
Oh.
WandaVision, yeah.
Did I hear Titans?
Titans, yeah.
No
Loki? Okay.
noise.
I think I saw somebody in a Loki costume upstairs earlier.
Yeah,
a lot of
maybe
them.
one or
Not
two.
kidding. Maybe at least
One or
one.
two. Some variants out there.
If you look, there are a couple of alligators running around with Loki hats.
I saw one of
That's
those. Yeah.
adorable.
I hope they're not live ones. So.
I think that is the costume of the year.
All right, great. All right, so so I have a few different questions here. I asked some of my panelists, for some questions too. So here's one of them: Why have so many superhero shows gotten more serious, and will that be a continuing trend, or will we get more lighthearted comedic fare?
Oh, that was my question, huh?
Yep.
I said you.
Yeah.
So let's start on the other side, though, so you don't answer your own question. No, you can't.
Can I actually pass for now? Because I'm trying to put my thoughts together on this.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, John Paul.
Okay. I thought about it. I never go on Discord, but I went on that channel and I read your question, so I thought about it ahead of time. I really think the reason they started going dark which is because Hollywood likes to copy itself so much. And when Batman Begins, which was, Nolan's more dark take on everything, sold to however many hundreds of millions or $1 billion, that set the tone for a while. Not across the board, but I think that set a tone. And we've gotten darker and darker and darker. But I honestly don't think it's going to continue. I think if you look, I've been watching too much CNN documentaries or whatever, and watching the current history of the sitcom. They talk about how stuff repeats, trends repeat and all that kind of stuff. If you look at what's going on in the world, where you go out of, come out of Vietnam, impeachment of a president, dark president, to Jimmy Carter, definitely not as dark as the previous period and all the rest. Television went lighter. It went more comedy, went more family. And I think between Stargirl, Superman and Lois, things like that, I really think over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, we're probably going to go more family oriented, lighter. That's what I think will happen. Good, bad, otherwise, whatever your preference is, I think that's what the world will see. And I'm hoping.
It's also that there's not always one grand sweeping trend as well, and that there's so much now. There's so many streaming services and so many, and so there can be both. And yeah, we have these lighter shows, which are wonderful. There's lighter movies. We're getting the darker superhero movies, but so many fun ones as well. And on the DC side, we have heartwarming family stuff with Stargirl and Superman and Lois, but we also have Titans, in which they go hard, dark superhero. So you can do both.
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think that we're ever going to have one or the other. I think it's always going to be both. But I also think that it's kind of maybe a little bit easier for the dramatic series to hit with more people, because comedy is hard. Comedy writing is hard. It's hard to make a joke that's going to make everyone laugh. So I think it's easier for the dramatic series.
I mean, I guess I came with this question because not just superheroes. I feel I've been railing about this for years, how I think darker content in general has gotten across the board. And personally, I'm just so sick of it. I hope you're 100% hope you're right, Jean-Paul, that
I hope so.
it turns more family. Because that's I think of the show An Ordinary Family, which didn't last, but it was a great superhero family show, right? And the stuff like Shazam, yes, thank you, a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really feel like, I don't know, when I was growing up, I guess that's kind of the stuff, right, that spoke the most to me.
Yeah.
And I feel that's important, though, too, I always usually do comedy in my own writing, so I guess that's important in the world to have comedy, to make people laugh. It doesn't have to make everyone laugh, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything, it just makes some people, I don't know. So I feel like you may be right. I'm hoping you're right, that we're trending away from there.
And she's right. It's a lot more difficult to write the comedy side, but you can actually talk about a lot more difficult subjects when you can make fun of them. I mean, All in the Family,
Sure.
The perfect example of talking about the most difficult topics and subjects. And our world is so polarized right now. We need to have those conversations without fighting. If you can do it in a comedy, so that might, again, I'm hoping that trend happens and gives us a way to start talking to each other again.
Yeah, and I like them to not take everything that used to be fun and make it super dark, right? Like Titans and getting out of the superheroes, Riverdale, Nancy Drew. Why do all this stuff why does it have to be changed that dark? I don't get it.
And Titans, it's so crazy because there's also the cartoon version. Titans is one extreme or the other.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
Titans
Animated
go,
is,
right?
totally
Yeah.
goofy, silly kitty stuff.
I'm waiting for rated R Scooby-Doo. That's what I'm.
No, dude, that's my favorite.
I
Don't
want it.
ruin it.
They
I
did
want it.
DC Comics did the Scooby Apocalypse series.
Oh, yeah.
I have read that. That's actually still kind of fun, though.
Yeah.
I've read some of that.
Well, and to add that, WandaVision. What is WandaVision? It's mostly comedy, but it's also very tragic.
Oh, yeah.
and drama.
It's
I think it's
great
more of a
blend.
drama, actually. It disguises itself as a comedy.
Yeah.
It fools you, and then it's like, now I'll make you cry.
You're giggling and then you're like, why am I crying?
But the good thing about streaming is we can, unlike previous television history, we can have all sorts of flavors too. So
Mhm.
I'll be curious, show of hands, how many of you favor dark, serious superhero? All right, it's quite a few, yeah. How many like it light and not dark, comedic, light and laughing? All right,
Oh.
and then as you were both, so
Right,
yeah.
yeah,
How many of you
Jeff.
want? How many of you want both? All right, so it's majority of us. It's we like different flavors, different times.
Good balance. Good balance.
Yeah, it's good balance. So another question was, aside from comedic tone, are DC and Marvel movies really all that different? So what is it about DC Marvel that make them different? if anything? And we'll
From
start.
each other? Or-
Yeah, those franchises. Is there anything besides the comedic light tone? Well, I don't know. If I would say DC's not always comedic light
No,
tone.
not
but,
at all. Then not when Zack Snyder's involved.
No.
But what makes those two franchises? Because they're on the surface they're really very similar, right? But what is it that makes them different? Because some people are like diehard, like I'm all DC or I'm all Marvel. I personally like both. But.
Yeah, so I guess I've heard other people say, right, which is probably true. Disney or Marvel / Disney is more right of an overall grand scheme, right? And they get people. Everyone has to fit within our grand vision, and everything has to interconnect. And you got to buy into this, and you got to do what we thinking, right? And I feel DC has gone a little bit more creative film director focused, maybe, right? Letting a little maybe. Pulling in directors with very distinct visions, letting them have a little more freedom to do what they want. And there's good and bad about both of that. I actually, personally, as a filmmaker, hew more to let the directors have more control. That has not been as successful for DC overall, I guess. But there's other issues I have with what Marvel's doing, even though they've been very successful. But I'll table that.
How do you feel?
Me?
Yep.
Okay. I would argue that if you change the filter of a DC movie and maybe change the soundtrack, it just is a Marvel movie. It just is. They have similar jokes. I mean, maybe less jokes. Similar jokes. Similar, just really stoic moments. The smolder moments. I mean, it's all there. They have all the elements. It's almost formulaic.
Yeah. How do you feel?
I think they started, like I said, I think they started further apart. Exactly that. The artistic vision was more the DC side. Whether it's Nolan or Zack Snyder or anybody else. It was more the Jim Shooter approach on the Marvel side, where everything had to be exactly the same. That worked, but they've come so close together now. You're right. You're still going to get, you're going to get bad movies and good movies from either one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved Endgame. I think I said in my intro that I forgot to say up here, I think I might be one of the only people in the world that loves Ant-Man and the Wasp many, many, many times more than Avengers Endgame. I loved Avengers Endgame, but Ant-Man and the Wasp was incredible. So
good.
You got both of them are wonderful, but no, they started very different. I don't know where they're going to go. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I think it's easy to agree, and I do agree that to prefer give the directors their vision, let them do their things, just creative people go as opposed to corporate control over the whole thing. That on paper, that makes perfect sense to me. In execution, the MCU just killed it. It just was wonderful, and I think it's so carefully planned, and the people that were pulling the strings from higher up did it right. They got it right. Was this lightning in a bottle? But normally, should we not do this? And should it be just have different separate directors do their thing? Maybe usually that's what we want. But I think in the case of the MCU, I love how they did it. And I love how it works. It interlocks and connects together so well in a way that DC has not been able to do.
Yeah. How about you, audience? Anybody favor? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to add one name to everything you just said, and that's Kevin Feige.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I think when you cross over, I think the one problem with DC maybe right now in the movies is that I think you got to find that balance, because if they're going to cross over and they're so dramatically different one way or the other, it can feel weird. Like the Defenders movie on Netflix. I love all the Netflix shows that used to be, Marvel. I hope they make them canon or something. Somehow they will throw that all away. But even though I love all those, the Defenders movie still was a little bit rough because it was like Daredevil didn't really mesh up with the other characters as well. It's like he's this one masked guy and they're all just walking around in normal clothes and they're like, you're kind of weird, dude.
Yeah.
And now they're fighting ninjas and stuff, and it was kind of weird. And that's not really that dramatically different compared to like some of the DC ones where they're really dramatically different from each other. So I think that's where Kevin Feige, I think you just got to be careful someone doesn't like take too much control. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, on the DC side, do we want Zack Snyder to run the whole thing? And I would say no.
No.
Well,
Please.
and I think
Please.
the new Suicide Squad movie, I think I loved it, and I thought it really captured
Yeah.
what the Suicide
But look what
Squad
they did
is.
though. They used Marvel's guy.
But I wouldn't want gun. I don't want it to become the gun verse, and then like Superman's like
No.
killing millions of people and laughing them out. I don't know. Just it'd be weird.
There's something to be said for having the overall vision that you can plug in to each movie, the little bits that make what it is in the comics, what it can be on the screen.
Mhm.
Some say that DC is trying to imitate Marvel lately by doing these individual movies and bringing everybody together.
Yeah, and maybe they need to do that. Maybe they need to do like how Joker is their own standalone stuff too. I don't know, but oh, there you go.
Marvel, though, looking for Ragnarok, that's a kind of like TV film. That's like TV film. That's his style. Yet it's plugged into the Marvel universe. It's amazing that they pulled that off, and that's not the only place they pulled that off.
Mhm.
So when they say, "Oh, DC lets directors do what they want," it seems like something Marvel can do that. Some of the earlier films that they did.
Yeah.
It's not that DC actually always does that either,
No,
right? Like,
yeah.
that's why there's a Snyder cut.
Yes.
It's true. Yeah. Who wants the Ayer cut? For Suicide Squad. Yep. I'd be curious to see.
One here and then one back.
Yeah. Who was saying?
Over here.
Oh,
But I was just gonna say something which I like both, but I lean a little more Marvel partially because I like that because it's a long series, you get a longer line of like character development for a lot of movies. Whereas in DC, if it's a standalone movie, you kind of got to develop that character real quick, and that movie doesn't always work out perfectly. So it's a little interesting to see kind of a much longer history of that character's life.
yeah.
That's a good point.
I think it's a good point. And I think, and that makes me think of something which you may disagree with or not, but I think one of the reasons why some of the movies didn't work as well is because they just assumed we knew Batman or we knew Aquaman, but they gave us very different versions of those characters than what we know. So then it's like, well, I'm a little confused now. Who is this? This is not really who I know. So that kind of defeated what they were trying to do, and maybe that caused some issues with Justice League and some of the other ones.
Oh, yeah.
But- okay, what was your question? Well, they got more control than they did before because now it's all in the same studio. So I'm really curious to see once we see Doctor Strange, some of the stuff that links up, like how that all makes sense.
Yeah.
Links up with Loki and everything.
Definitely.
I mean, up until now, I thought DC has always had a better control on TV. Marvel had the movies, DC had the TV with the CW and on all their other shows, and now on HBO Max and stuff. Marvel, I'll be honest with you, like I'm really shocked what they've done so far. Like WandaVision and Loki are both such odd choices how they did those series. I feel I did not expect Marvel to do that. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier feels like what I expect. That's actually my favorite one.
Yeah, it could have been a movie. That wasn't a radical departure from a Marvel movie.
Right.
You just like Zemo dancing, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's why I watched it. I don't know, but again, Marvel still. I haven't watched all the Marvel shows, but from what I've read, they're still trying to set everything up through Loki and other stuff, set up the multiverse and still tie everything together.
Yeah.
Is that the idea, right?
Theory, yeah. Theory Loki sets everything up for Doctor Strange and maybe Spider-Man. So,
But I think it's a little bit what he was saying about Feige, where you had come over the Marvel Universe. The reason that DC stuff works so well on television is everything, maybe an exception, but almost everything is the Berlanti group.
Yeah.
So you had Greg Berlanti,
Berlanti and Jeff Johns.
well, and
Yeah.
Jeff Johns behind it. And Jeff Johns, incredible writer in the comics.
Oh, yeah.
I want to minimize him a little bit in the movie side of things. I think he lets his fanboy side out a little bit too much which doesn't work as well in the general audience, but he's incredible. But because you had that one vision with the Berlanti group, you did get that really consistent Arrow to Flash to Legends to whatever. Well, the Legends, I guess, is the
Outlier.
Yeah.
outlier.
A bit.
The other outlier would be Black Lightning
And Black Lightning.
because of its tone.
But still, even with that,
Yeah.
it was very consistent across the board. If you enjoyed one, you knew what you're going to get in the next one, which is what helped Marvel sell so well. You knew if you went and spent your money at the theater, you're going to get at least this level of quality. You might enjoy this much, but at minimum, you're going to get this much. You're not going to get down here, and that helps some, advertisers and selling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that makes me think about the danger of controlling everything, because at least for me, and I know Jeff has talked to me about it before, the DCCW shows, some of them at least, we kind of started to fall off of after Crisis because we didn't like, I don't like retconning stuff a whole bunch, and there was a big retcon in there. So that's a danger of doing that, right? I mean, maybe MCU will do something really weird and mess everything up. Some time travel shenanigans, retcons everything. No, hopefully not. But I'm curious about you guys. If any of you watched the CW shows, did you like Crisis, or did Crisis, did you not like that retcon aspect of it? Because it seems like the ratings dropped a bit after that. And I wonder,
Now, are you talking about Crisis itself, the crossover?
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
more like the aftermath of it?
But the aftermath, because
Yeah.
in the aftermath, I think Flash has gone downhill a little bit. Maybe. But I wanted to see Crisis put together as a DVD set, and they won't.
Yeah.
That's odd, actually.
Yeah.
It's like a movie, basically, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That'd be perfect.
Probably some legal thing, because like Batwoman goes over to HBO Max, they have some different distribution stuff.
I guess in a way it was really true to the comics in that the event itself was so exciting and amazing and all the cameos and things, and then the aftermath is a problem. And that's exactly what happened in the comics.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've always had an issue with all their huge crossovers, and I think Crisis on Infinite Earths was the best by far that they did. So I love that, and what I was afraid has happened. I was like, and now it's destroyed everything afterwards. And I did not watch. I'm not watching any of those shows afterwards. Like I tried, and I was like, no, I can't do it. All those shows I watched, except Arrow, which only had a couple to go, and I finished that off, of course. I guess DC always does this in the comics every few years, right? Like I hate
They do,
if
yeah.
you've invested all these years, right, in the show, and then you tear it all away, what you know. And I can't stand that as like a creator or a viewer when they do that. Like, so Crisis gave them great ratings, but in the long run, I think it actually really hurt them and destroyed a bunch of these shows.
It did. And
Yeah.
I mean, you had Arrow and Flash. Well, Arrow was gone anyway at that point.
That's the one I got to survive because it was going off anyway.
Yeah, but then on top of that, there was that little thing called a pandemic that messed up their productions there at the end.
Yeah.
So even shows that might have, okay, let's get to the end of the season and put this season behind us, didn't even get to put the season behind them. It didn't get to end right. And yeah, honestly, these guys know that because I'm one of the biggest DC fans around on all these panels all the time. I have not watched a single episode this season of Supergirl or The Flash. And I was always proud of being the only guy on the Supergirl panel every year. Because
we're both on one.
Were you on one? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a couple of years in a row that I felt like I'm out of place here. But it was great. And this year, not watching a single episode, they just lost me. So you're right. It's that aftermath of Crisis and pandemic combined just crashed. But then we got Superman and Lois and Stargirl out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hanging with all these CW shows, even though, as I said, like sometimes it feels like a chore. And I've been watching them the new season, but they pile up on the DVR. It's like, oh no, I got 4 flashes to get through.
I gotta do my homework.
I feel like I owe it to 13-year-old me who could never envision a world in which all these shows existed, that I just have to keep watching them.
All right, so these are all adaptations, at least most of the stuff we're talking about from comic books, right? So I'm curious, what is something that's been adapted, because there's changes made, live action, it creates reasons to change things. Is there a change on a show that happened that you either really love, that was an improvement, or something that really you're like, oh, I really hate that they did that, from any TV show, movie, compared to the comic book source material?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, comic book source material.
I don't know. I can think of an example that came to mind immediately, and it's appropriate that the Smallville cast is here at DragonCon right now, is that I really liked it in the beginning of Smallville when it first started, that it was the kryptonite storm that came, with Kal-El's ship lands, but then it was kryptonite that also affected Luthor and affected Lana, right? And then there was the Freak of the Week.
Yes.
Every supervillain was powered by. But setting that aside, though, the way that event set in motion the three main characters of the series, I thought was very nice, and that's something you don't get in comics. That it's easier to do, I think, for writing for movies and TVs. It's easier to kind of pull things and let's make this one cohesive story and tie these elements in. Like the Michael Keaton Batman movie, having Joker be the guy who shot his parents, for example.
Mhm.
Writers of TV and movies tend to let's tie this up in a bow and make everything connect in a way that it didn't in the original comics. I don't like a lot of that, but Smallville is an example, I think, where it worked effectively.
I have a question.
Sure.
In the comics, sometimes not getting tied up in a bow was what the writer ended up with when he intended not to. He for example, Claremont went back and forth with Nightcrawler and his mother and his other relations. And it wasn't until 10 years later that he wrapped up that story by going back and dealing with Nightcrawler's heritage. So the question is, when they don't do the job they're trying to do in the comics, isn't it an improvement in the series to go a slightly different direction and give the viewers something they're not expecting?
Yeah, because sometimes if you go directly, like straight up, what happened, it's you're just watching something you already know, right? You want to surprise people. But yeah, you're gonna say something.
Yeah, well, just no, I'm agreeing with that. I actually wish series would sometimes go more off of the cut source material.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes they feel so stuck on it. They must honor these certain things, which is good. That's nice. But the one example I always use is on The Flash. So Barry and Iris, and if you love this relationship, that's awesome. I'm not sure, right? But I've never bought Barry and Iris on the show. But I felt like because from the comics, they felt they had to do it, right? I'm going to always say this every time I get a chance. Barry and Patty Spivot on that show were the perfect couple for me. And I knew it was never going to happen. It was never going to happen because they had to have Iris, right? So for me, I was like, I don't know. So that's why sometimes I wish they could kind of just.
Who likes Barry and Iris together? How about you raise your hands?
Oh, wow. Oh, I got some. Yes, I have other people with me today.
Yeah, I mean, the chemistry never really worked with Barry and Iris on TV, and it's weird that they kind of grew up like brother and
Yeah,
sister.
they're kind of
that's-
brother and sister.
yeah.
That's an odd, odd choice.
But I think a lot of what you get with that is these characters taking a long time, like you said. The Claremont or anybody else will take a lot of years to develop a character.
Yes.
And the version, sometimes the reason it takes a long time is that didn't work, and that didn't work, and that didn't work.
Yes.
Ooh, we finally found it 10 years later. And then that sells, and people like that version. But they've got to figure out how in 1 2-hour movie or something to get from, rocket ship from planet Krypton to the final version in 2 hours. And that's a bad example because that one's worked all the time. But there are characters that, but there's a lot. My favorite is Booster Gold. That's one they haven't done yet. But
I
Booster,
love a Booster Gold.
Yeah.
but Booster, it took them a lot of years. It took them until Jeff Johns did his whole "the greatest hero you've never heard of" version of Booster. It didn't wipe out what had happened before, but that was the one that worked. But you got to get through the jerk Booster for many years before you get to that version. And for Hollywood, that doesn't work unless you do it as a long series, and then nobody wants to watch a jerk week to week. And at least generally, I'm hoping the Green Lantern they do because Guy Gardner's the main character and lovable jerk. But
They can
that's
just get Tom King to write him. It's fine.
okay. You can get
Yeah.
that.
But the idea that the author didn't get back to completing what was maybe intended can also be a detraction. And so sometimes the author not doing what he might have wanted to do or intended to do and not accomplish. Sometimes it's better when the TV show can, or movie, can bridge that gap and not include the detritus of the story.
They polish it off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
Adaptation type stuff. I will say my favorite. I can think of good and bad both. I'm going to stick with the positive one. One of the best examples of something new that happened in the comics in the past, say, 10 years, was when they brought back. This is they're rebooting over and over and over. When they finally brought back the Superman and Lois from before Flashpoint, the one that had existed since basically Byrne did his reboot, but still they brought that back. But they brought them back with a kid, Jonathan Kent. And then they made Jonathan and Damian, the current Robin, Batman's son, the Super Sons. And the Adventures of the Super Sons was such a wonderful story, so heartwarming, so fantastic. Fun adventures, zany adventures, heartwarming adventures. You could have everything with the Super Sons. And because DC won't let them use Batman on TV, for Superman and Lois, they had to figure a way of, we want to bring in this dynamic, so let's give them twins. Let's have one lighter, one darker. We're not recreating Batman or Robin and Superboy, but we're creating that dynamic. Two characters who do care for each other, who do love each other. In the comics, as brothers, on TV, as real brothers, and it just works. I mean, Jonathan and Jordan, that relationship, I was worried. I was so hoping when they created that it would work, and it's worked beyond what I could hope for. And it's very different. I mean, it's definitely not Robin, but it just works so well. They recreated the dynamic that you enjoyed in the comic and did something entirely new with it. So that'd be my example of something they've adapted that much more positive.
I agree.
Yeah.
Who wants to see a live action Damien? Yeah, Robin. Yeah. Yeah, he hates Damien's.
Come on, he's such a pretentious little jerk, and that's
Yes!
adorable. But in the opposite way, though, something that came from visual media, like TV shows and stuff that went to comics, Harley Quinn, without her comic book adaptation and her growth over time, I would hate her. Like, I love her on Batman the Animated Series, but there's only so much of that you can take before you're like, girl, leave him. Get away.
Yeah, she's an interesting character because she started animated, then she went to comics, kind of matured, and then now she's back in television movies and stuff. And
Yeah, I mean,
Everywhere.
kind of the star of the DC cinematic universe at this point.
Suicide Squad.
yeah, I loved her.
I
in
loved
Suicide
her.
Squad. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I even like Birds of Prey. I know some people don't like that movie, but I thought it was
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
I
fun.
loved it.
That was
Yeah, I
fun.
loved it, yeah.
I love
It's the last movie I saw in a movie theater.
I like when people say that like everyone in that movie is too goofy, but then you have to think that the whole movie is from Harley's perspective, so they're gonna be.
Yeah, yeah. How about you? Adaptation favorite or not so favorite?
Something, yeah, actually, I think they did. When I was a kid, I remember reading the famous scene of the death of Gwen Stacy by the Green Goblin, and Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, for me, like, I actually can't believe that. I felt that was so accurate to the actual way they did it in the comics. And like when she fell and you feel the snap, I was like, it hit me just like the comics did. I was like, oh my God. Like I honestly could not believe anything get like that accurate and still had the same impact on me. And I know not everyone, I guess, loves those movies, right? But I like them. I actually really wanted to see where they were going with those movies. I think they had a lot of stuff set up for those. But anyway, that scene in particular has always stuck with me.
Yeah, one negative is I don't like any version of Doctor Doom so far in live action. Like, I don't feel they've captured that character. I know it's not an easy character. He's very convoluted, powers and abilities, and he's a complicated character. But if they can do Doctor Doom right in MCU, he'll be pretty amazing.
On that, just so you know, if you didn't know, I don't know if you like the Fargo TV series, but Hawley, I'm blanking on his full name, but the guy who's created Fargo and writes Fargo for TV, which is just fantastic, wonderful show if you don't watch it. But he had been contracted when he was under Fox. He was going to be doing a Doctor Doom movie and writing that, and that was going to be potentially the best movie of the entire century, maybe just because of his writing and because of how bad it's been. That's to me the biggest damage of the Disney Fox acquisition is we lost Hawley's Doctor Doom. But
Yeah.
just a
And I
Well
feel like
said,
like you mentioned earlier about how because in script writing they teach you like you got to make everything link together. That's the perfect movie if everything links together. So I see why they're always wanting to link Doctor Doom directly into like he gets the powers like them if he's an evil version, and it just doesn't work for that character. So adaptations, is there something all of you really? Let's start negative. Is there something you didn't like that was adapted? You're like, that was not a good take. Like Doctor Doom, perhaps. Is there anything you feel strongly about? Galactus. Yeah, I didn't like the cloud. Anybody else?
The first Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, rather than the shooters.
His own internal web stuff. Yeah.
They didn't use the science to create the web shooters.
Yeah. That's another thing. I think scriptwriters like going, well, we're going to make it less complicated. But, Peter Parker is really a genius in that way. And that's an important aspect of his character.
I feel like that's something that I really, really need to see in film is this genius Peter Parker instead of high school kid Peter Parker that we always get or something like that. Like I need to see him being super smart and nerdy and awesome instead of just awkward boy.
I think
that was his first choice of a name.
Awkward boy. Awkward boy, yeah.
I think it's the worst part. As much as the current Spider-Man is doing a good job, the actor is doing a good job as the character. Yeah. The worst part of those movies is he's really just Iron Man's apprentice. I mean,
that's why I can't stand. I don't like the current Spider-Man.
No, I like the actor, but I don't like the movies.
I don't like him being just Iron Man's like protege. Basically.
Yeah, that's all he is, and we need more Spider-Man, less Iron Spider.
Supposedly, that's what we're getting in phase 4.
Good.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. I probably got that from Civil War, right? I think that's where relationships started in Civil War comic books.
The Spider-Man?
Yeah. Spider-Man and Iron Man. Yeah. So, before anybody, adaptation you really loved that you thought they nailed it perfectly. Anybody? Nope. Yep. Punisher Warzone? Yeah, that's pretty dark and gritty.
Which is that the Thomas Jane?
Yeah.
I don't know. Warzone was a Thomas Jane.
It wasn't?
I confused them all.
Isn't it?
Yeah, me too.
I think that was a different. Maybe
I don't know.
It wasn't Thomas Jane, right?
All right. Well, okay. That movie.
Anyway,
sorry.
I don't know. Maybe it was. I don't know. Okay. It wasn't the first Thomas Jane one. I know that.
Yeah.
Did you have something?
Oh, nice.
Nice. I like that. So capture that
video
feel.
game.
Good for you. Okay. All right. So we're talking a lot of Marvel, DC, but they're not the only superheroes in town, right? So, what are some that you would like to see adapted? Image, any indie superhero, whatever, to the smaller big screen that we haven't gotten yet. So, anybody got any?
Yeah.
Wait.
Non-Marvel DC, right?
Non-Marvel DC.
Yeah. I'd like to see one that they tried in the 90s, Witchblade. They tried it as a TV show. I love the Witchblade comic. I love their choice. Yancey Butler is who they cast as her. I think she was great for Sarah Panzini. I did not think they did a good job with that show. It was only 2 seasons.
That's a retcon. They retconned everything. The time travel.
Oh, in the second season, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if I watched that season.
Yeah.
But there's so much stuff for Witchblade. And like you said, they can also, if they wanted to, they could pull in the darkness. They could have a little own universe, right? Sequel there and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
These are characters in the Top Cow comic universe. Yeah, I've always loved Witchblade. And so I think you could do a lot of stuff with that.
Warrior Nun.
Warrior Nun?
Yeah.
Oh, Netflix. Yeah.
The one that just occurred to me was, remember Concrete from the 80s and
Concrete's
90s?
great.
Concrete by Paul Chadwick. That was a really special series from Dark Horse, and that would be interesting to see as a movie.
That'd be interesting to see how they tackle that.
Yeah, that might be a CG challenge because it's a giant rock guy.
Yeah. My favorite is Mage. Mage, the hero discovered, or the follow-ups. I just think the story of Kevin Matchstick, which I won't spoil it if you haven't read it, even though it's old, in case they ever do it. But go read it. It's wonderful. Him and his bat and fighting the evil of the world. It's just a fantastic story, and one that I'm surprised nobody has adapted, just because it's so easy to adapt. It's all modern.
How about you? You have one?
Yeah, I really need The Wicked and the Divine to please happen, please. But one that would be weird, and I don't know how they would pull it off and do it, is Sex Criminals.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It would be hilarious and amazing, and I just need
I
it.
feel like I heard it got optioned.
They could do that, like on HBO or something.
Yeah.
or
Oh man, it would
Showtime.
be great on HBO. Yeah.
Yeah, we're straying outside of superheroes at this point, but yeah, that's fantastic
They have
examples.
superpowers.
Well, yeah, but
Powers.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, they do have superpowers, don't they? In Sex Criminals.
My favorite just got adapted is Invincible. I always
Yeah.
wanted an Invincible, and we finally got it. And that's one that's pretty close to the source material, but they do have a few different twists, and they fill in blanks.
And that's I have not read Invincible, but I understand that's just a little bit of the story. Right? There's a lot more that they could.
Oh, there's a lot
beyond that.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it changes quite a bit over the
Yeah.
years. So I'm curious, and it's finished, so they have a finished story that they can adapt. So
Cool. I really liked it. My wife had to bail out. She made it through like 1.5 episodes, and just the violence was. I was shocked by how gory that was.
it's a little gory. Yeah.
Didn't Ryan Brown do the art in the comic? So it was gonna be gory.
Yeah. It's a little gory. Yeah, but if you like The Boys, it's nothing.
Yeah.
How about you? Is there anything that's superhero that hasn't been adapted yet, that's not Marvel or DC, that you would love to see?
I don't think this is DC. Why the Last Man? They keep threatening
Yeah,
to do it.
that's coming.
They're doing it.
That's coming
It's
soon.
coming.
It's done. It's coming on Hulu.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yep.
Hulu, right?
That's going to be a series. There's a TV series coming very soon.
I can't remember. But yeah.
Yeah. Well,
This fall, I
There's a
think.
trailer out.
Yeah.
If you go YouTube, you can see the
Yeah.
trailer.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
I think that technically is DC kind of. It's Vertigo.
Yeah, that was a
So-
Vertigo
It's
series.
an imprint.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Pre-Euro.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh,
I'm really thinking that sooner or later Netflix is going to buy either Image or Dark Horse, and Amazon is just going to do this, buy what's left.
Yeah.
Amazon might buy Netflix, and Amazon might buy Image or Dark Horse. You know, it's just because of all the characters, because all the DC stuff is off to HBO Max, all the Marvel stuff to Disney Plus and Hulu, so it makes total logical sense. And then we look at one of the larger third tier cultures.
yeah. That's
I'm
what.
surprised they haven't actually.
Well, I think that's what Netflix is trying to do with the Millarverse, right? With Jupiter's
Yeah.
Legacy, it didn't work out so well so far. But they're pivoting to it's canceled, but there's also a spin-off series, and they've kind of worded in such a way like, well, maybe we'll see them again. Who knows? We're gonna go over here with the villains right now, and it's kind of a shame in a way, but if they manage to pull that off, it'd be amazing. So
But that's a great point, though. There's plenty of other companies out there,
Oh, yeah.
particularly like Image, right, and Dark Horse, and so particularly in the '90s, I feel like Image was at its heyday. But there's plenty of source material that you could totally use.
And there's a lot of companies that are kind of defunct that I don't know if anybody owns their material, like Comico. I don't know if it's Comico or Comico, I can't remember how you say it, but Elementals was a huge seller back in the day.
continuity is that
Continuity. That was Neil Adams' company. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's been several like that.
Yeah. Kamiko was. What did they do? They did a lot of stuff.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
They had a lot of material
Yeah.
that was really good back in the 80s when there was that 80s into 90s as the
Yeah.
kind of indie surge happened.
Yeah,
after
those
Turtles.
defunct companies like Eclipse did so
Yeah.
much, and First
Oh, first with
American Flag, John
American Flag,
Sable
that's what I was
freelance.
trying to think of, yeah.
And I mean, the comics are more so than ever are a feeder system for Hollywood, and I think that's the mindset going in. Even probably with a lot of creators is here's my comic book series that I'm developing, but this is going to be a TV show or this is going to be a movie. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that's the mindset more than ever.
Yeah.
It's a storyboard for
Yeah,
whatever's next.
Yeah. because that's where the money is.
Yeah, we'll get another Spawn movie soon.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
We're supposed to. So, so how many of you saw Jupiter's Legacy out here?
Only
Yeah.
the last 5 minutes you made me watch last night because we were in the same hotel room.
How many of you
That
seen
terrible
Jupiter's
violent
Legacy?
scene you showed me.
Yeah, okay. Never mind. Let's not talk about it. This is why
Aren't
Jupiter's
you doing a
Legacy
whole panel
failed.
on that later?
I am later. So
Go talk about it there.
All right. So, I'm curious, why. So, at least two of us, I'm not sure the rest of you, but we write prose fiction too, like, novels and stuff. And the superhero genre is something that doesn't really do too well in novels. At least doesn't seem to. And I wonder why. Because it's like the superhero genre is great in everything else. It seems to be dominating everything else. What do you guys have any opinions on why don't we see more superhero novels out there?
That's a great question.
Let me ask you a question to kind of piggyback off of that, though. When you read something, do you imagine it in your brain like a movie? Because I had somebody ask me this the other day. Yeah?
I do, yeah.
A lot of people don't. They don't see what's happening in their head while they're reading, and I think that could be a big reason
The visual
why.
element.
Yeah.
They can't visualize it.
Correct, yeah.
I was just thinking that, but then shouldn't that also be a problem with science fiction movies?
You'd think.
But
yeah.
science fiction is super popular. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a writer friend. She has a superhero series, and she just is like, she's sending it everywhere, her manuscript, and every agent is like, no, superheroes don't sell. We don't want to look at stuff. So it's very frustrating.
I think that's part of it, though. How many science fiction or fantasy books come out every month and every year? If you put out, 2, 3, 4, 500 or 1,000 or 2,000, most of them are not going to sell well. If you only put out a dozen superhero books and one sells well, the agents immediately say, this doesn't sell and don't try anymore.
I think we need to try and flood the YA market.
Yes.
There is a book called Wildflowers.
Yeah, I love
Yes.
Wildflowers. They've been trying to adapt that forever. I hope they do. It's going to be a tough one to adapt.
I think right here. Yeah, comment?
I was going kind of off of what you were saying, how it is largely visual, because a lot of superhero movies, a big portion of it is action. And so some people really have a hard time writing action well, because a lot of times you get it in books and it just doesn't really work that great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's action and it's so visual, from day one. Superheroes were born in comic books. They were born as a visual medium, and it's costumes. It's action and it's costumes. And so that's hard to translate to prose. It can be done, and it has been done successfully, and it probably should be more of a thing than it is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do it right now. my own my Super Knocked Up, which is a comedy series about a villain who gets pregnant by her superhero nemesis. We did it. There's 2 seasons online. If you go to YouTube, Super Geeked Up on YouTube, you can watch those. But I decided there's a new thing called Kindle Vella. Marx has a story as well, which is the serialized way of telling like short episodes. So I'm adapting it until that now, and I got 8 episodes up, and I'm trying to tell like the full story now. Mine, though, again, was always been about more focused on the relationships between characters. There's definitely super powered stuff, but maybe that'll help me a little bit that it's not as much as like
What about budget, special effects budget?
Well, that's cool too, right? I couldn't do everything I wanted to in the web series, right? Because it's like we're on no budgets, but I can now in the book, which is nice, or the Vela series. By the way, for almost any of those Vela stuff, you can read the first 3 episodes for free. And
you get 200 free tokens to watch more.
You can read a lot for free, actually, basically.
Yeah, it's a great time to try it out.
Super Knocked Up, Obsidian, what?
It's Obsidian Archives, but season 1 is called Obsidian Monsters. So it's actually urban fantasy, super spy blend. So it's not technically superheroes, but they got code names, it's everything but the costumes, and lots of action scenes. So,
So check those out.
Yeah, check it out. So I thank you. So I'm curious, based on what we're talking about, like how many raise of hands when you read a novel, how many of you picture it visually in your head? All right. So there's a decent amount, but I have heard that before too, that some people don't.
That blew my mind.
Okay, I have a follow-up for you or anybody else. Since you picture it in your mind, you're reading it. If you later hear an audiobook or see an adaptation, how difficult is it when they say the names wrong?
Oh, it can ruin it for me. Oh, God.
Yes.
It physically hurts my body.
I've thought about putting like a pronunciation guide in my
Yes.
books for people.
And do it at the beginning.
Yeah.
The people who put the pronunciation guides always put it at the end. By the time you've read 500 pages and have said the name, Superman as Supperman. Wrong.
Supperman.
I love
Great.
Superman.
I love
Oh
it.
my God.
He delivers my meals.
I need Chip Starsky to write a Superman book.
There's no code mills with that heat vision.
If you've done that for 500 pages, it doesn't matter that you see the pronunciation guide at the end. It's stuck in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need it at the beginning, or at least
One problem though is Kindle has a setup where it jumps immediately to the chapter 1,
Yeah.
so you're gonna miss that.
And similarly, if you're making a movie in your mind as you read the novel, then when they make the adaptation of it for TV or movies, now that's going to mess with the way I put it in my head. So that guy looks like that now. I read all the Michael Connelly Bosch detective novels, and now next time I read a Bosch novel, he's going to look like Titus Welliver in my head, because how could he not? Because I watched the whole series.
every time they make a science fiction or fantasy movie and they don't cast Michelle Pfeiffer as the main female character, it just bothers me. She should be
Every time.
Every time.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, except Ant-Man and Wasp, where they did put Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah, so.
But in your mind, it was she played both Ant-Man and Wasp. It's all Pfeiffer.
No, just the female. Just
Okay.
the female
Okay.
character.
All right. So, so we're going to be wrapping up here in a second. So is there any superhero stories that, we haven't talked about that you guys love and that people need to be watching or reading, if they're only still in comic books, that you would like to give a shout out to? Make sure people check it out.
One of the people in chat mentioned
Doom Patrol, yes. Yeah, I love Doom Patrol. I
Oh,
think
that's right.
it's-
There's a chat. Hi, people
Oh,
watching
hi.
live chatters.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
They said Doom Patrol is the best DC property on TV right now.
Mm.
Oh, awesome. Sorry, I totally forgot we had chatters there. I would have been asking. Yes, I think Doom Patrol everybody should be talking about Doom Patrol more often. It's a quirky show, and it's one of my favorite HBO Max ones.
Which this is like a normal movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's Raising Dion on Netflix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I enjoyed it. It was very different. I don't know if they're still doing any more seasons.
I think it says there's a season 2 of Raising Dion in the works. So, yeah, that's cool. We have a superhero kid getting powers, right? That's a cool. It's a really cool twist in that too.
Yeah, I got two. They're both gone now. They're done. One of them planned only a short run. That was Legion. So it's Marvel, but it's one of those that's kind of out there different. As long as you don't mind psychedelic dance numbers in the middle of your TV shows and things like that. Legion was incredible. And then I hate that the ending of season 2 of Krypton was a cliffhanger, but the 2 seasons of Krypton, back when I did have a podcast, I went for 6 months, almost every episode, talking about how this show should not exist, should not exist, should not exist. Then it came out, and I had to eat my own words because it was one of the best things they had done.
Was Michelle Pfeiffer in it?
No, she wasn't in it.
Drat.
However, at least one of their stars is here, and I can't remember her name, but she was in Batwoman as well, and she was fantastic. Anyway, so those would be the two. I'd say at least there's a finite number. You can go back and watch them if you're done.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I would second Krypton as well. That was fun. Yeah, man.
I've got one. The
Sure.
Gifted.
The gift.
The Gifted,
Oh,
which was the
man.
X-Men series, 2
Yeah.
seasons on Fox. Again, you like the main X-Men, right? But I loved it that there was these other characters, and it was such a well-written story. The characters were great. I do not like that Fox went to Disney. One reason is though that show now is gone and it will never exist again. And oh man,
So that's part of what's great about Legion. I mean, that's Professor X's son. So so there've been multiple X-Men shows that just haven't made it.
It's in the multiverse somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see them.
Well, I just thought of one that I just did a panel about this a few hours ago. So I don't know why it slipped my mind. Pennyworth.
Pennyworth, yeah.
Pennyworth. It's on the Epics channel or whatever you call it, but it's the story of Alfred Pennyworth, Batman's butler as a young man in England, set in like the late '60s, sort of. Super cool show, and it's adult, it's pretty hard, violent, and very cool, very stylish, really smart. They've done 2 seasons so far.
Yeah, it's on Epics. That's a show that, like you, John Paul, I was like, "What? I don't need to see Alfred's backstory. What's up with this?" But then I watched it and was like, "This is really weird and kind of cool. I like it."
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And they mix in some Batman stuff. Thomas and Martha Wayne are in it. Lucius Fox is in it. It's been really good.
All right. Did I get? Did you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, go read Jeremy Whitley's The Wasp because I need more. Please do it for me.
Oh, the Wasp
Because I-
character from Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Wasp. That's
Oh
great.
yeah.
Anybody else got one that they want to give a shout out to? We got all our shout outs out. Then let's wrap it up with all of you telling all of them where they can find you online. You start here.
All right. You can find me supergeekedup.com. Super Geeked Up is the YouTube channel. Again, you can watch my Super Knocked Up series there. We also do our geeky improv comedy show every Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Eastern. We're doing it tonight, 8:30 p.m. Hilton Grand East upstairs. If you want to come geek out with us, and please get a chance. Besides the series, if you go to Kindle Vella, search Super Knocked Up, or my name Jeff Burns. Hopefully, it'll come up, and you can read a bunch of episodes for free. Thanks so much.
You can find me on Botch Podcast at Botch Podcast or Botch. I can speak words. Yeah, like a podcaster and stuff. Twitch.tv/Botch Podcast every Monday and Tuesday. And then every other Wednesday on Horse Girls. That's horsegirls.club if you want to go to the website and check that out.
Awesome. The only way you're going to find me is if I happen to randomly appear in one of their shows or someone else's shows.
Or if Michelle Fiber's in the vicinity.
Or Michelle Pfeiffer's in the vicinity. Yeah, something like that. And my wife doesn't know about
We
it.
can find you across the street from Michelle Pfeiffer's house with the binoculars, right? That was you. That was you.
No.
You can find me at my podcast is called the Flopcast. There's the address right there, flopcast.net. Just a silly, goofy, nerdy show. We're part of the ESO network. I also have badge ribbons from the Flopcast, so if you want a ribbon for your DragonCon badge, you can come grab one. This year's ribbons, they say, "You're weird and I missed you,"
Oh, that's nice.
because I did.
Awesome. And you can find me over at marxpyle.com. You can find Genretainment there too, but also genretainment.com. That's genre entertainment mashed together into Genretainment, where we interviewed people. It's like over 100 episodes currently up there, all sorts of directors and writers and such. And like we mentioned before, I got a new series, Obsidian Monsters, up on Kindle Vella. I think if you like superheroes, I think even if it's not 100% superheroes, I think it's very superhero friendly. And yeah, so thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
and enjoy the rest of your
Thank
Dragon Con. Thanks.
That was very fun.